Now, from the station named Outstanding News Operation by the Associated Press, this is News 4 at 6.
The man who was once accused of murdering a Prince George's County police officer will soon be free. Good evening. I'm Wendy Rieger. Doreen Gensler is off tonight.
I'm Jim Vance. Jeffrey Gilbert is his name. He's no longer charged in that killing, but his troubles with the law are not over. Jay Hudson is at the Prince George's County Jail now with more on that story. Jay?
Jim, Jeffrey Gilbert has been in the Prince George's Correction Center for 5 weeks, but that will change in a couple of hours, perhaps by 8 o'clock. He went and arrested, accused as a cop killer. Now he will be released on bond. Gilbert was arrested for the murder of a Prince George's police officer, Corporal John Novobilski. Novobilski was working off-duty security in uniform and in his marked cruiser. But the stakeout for another man, Ralph McLean, ended with McLean and an FBI agent dead and yielded a MAC-11 and Novobilski's service weapon. The state's attorney investigated, decided not to prosecute Gilbert, and agreed to bond on other pending charges. If we'd not had the incident with Mr. McLean, where would you be today?
Oh, we'd be in deep trouble, because even though we knew we had a good case from the very beginning, I think fortunately, that Mr. McLean kept the most critical part of the case, the physical evidence, and for whatever bizarre reason, he kept it on him, and because of that, they've dismissed the charges. We were always convinced he was innocent of his innocence, but that convinced the state he was innocent.
Sources tell News 4 that the Gilbert family had to raise $5,500 to cover $55,000 in bond for a couple of outstanding charges. We're told that they have raised the money, that there's still the process to go through of the bail bondsman to the commissioner's office, and a fax out here to the jail, then the processing that takes place inside. And we're told by the attorneys today that they do plan to file suit against Prince George's County within a couple of weeks, that on the arrest of Gilbert and, of course, the beating. I.J. Hudson, News 4, reporting live from Prince George's County. Back to you.
Thank you, I.J. The U.S. Attorney in Miami calls it the biggest case ever against one of the world's largest cocaine cartels. And it is a case of former prosecutors, including a former top government official, being accused of helping that cocaine cartel. Some say the case goes a long way toward explaining how cocaine has been brought into this country for decades, with the government seemingly at a loss to stop it. Ike Siemens has our report.
Since 1983, federal drug agents have seized 200,000 kilos of cocaine from the Cali cartel, hidden in all kinds of bizarre places, in concrete telephone poles, coffee bags, even in boxes of frozen broccoli. Now, federal law enforcement agents have gone after those behind the smuggling. Today, they announced 78 indictments, including 4 against major Cali cartel ringleaders in Colombia, 5 Miami lawyers, and 1 former Justice Department official. 3 of the Miami lawyers have already pleaded guilty to money laundering charges. They are Joel Rosenthal, a former federal prosecutor, Robert Moore, and Francisco Laguna. U.S. Attorney Kendall Coffey says the charges could have been much more serious.
Delivering payoff money, that includes aiding and abetting the escape of a fugitive, that includes creating false affidavits and false documents, conduct that includes literally delivering threatening messages to defendants or to their families to assure that there's no cooperation with the government. That's not the practice of law. That's a crime.
Nonsense, says Roy Black, who's defending Michael Abel, formerly head of the Justice Department's International Affairs section.
The irony is they defended the case, and now the prosecutors are turning around and indicting them.
Today, Customs arrested several Miami men charged with being leaders for the Cali cartel smuggling operation in the United States.
That reporter was Ike Siemens.
Maryland police are investigating the death of a 14-year-old girl at a house party in Glen Burnie. 2 boys have been questioned as material witnesses in the incident that occurred on Saturday night. Police say the girl went into a back room with the boys. One of the boys, a 15-year-old, had a gun. The gun went off, hitting the girl in the head, but the circumstances aren't clear. Police say the boys ran off and threw away the gun and the bullets. They've questioned the boys, but because they are juveniles, they're giving no details. They've also recovered the bullets, but they're still looking for the gun, which is a snub-nosed .28 caliber revolver. Silver Spring man is in critical condition tonight after a shooting at a scanned furniture store in Columbia, Maryland. Montgomery Walker and another employee, Arthur Weigel, were held up by 2 masked men last night. They were ordered to open up the safe, but then a burglar alarm went off and the gunman fired, hitting both employees. Weigel is in serious condition. The gunman took off and they have not been caught.
They weren't taking any chances today at T.C. Williams High School in Alexandria after a student came down with tuberculosis. 200 kids who had come in recent contact with the student were tested for TB. It was the first such testing in many years in a school in Alexandria. Besides the 200 students, 10 staff members were tested. The city health department estimates 10% of those exposed to the virus at T.C. Williams may be infected, but it says there's no cause for alarm.
People probably shouldn't be very panicked. Tuberculosis is a pretty rare disease. We have only had 15 to 20 cases a year in the city of Alexandria. Only a little over 300 cases last year in the whole state of Virginia. And in order to catch it, you have to breathe the same air and share the same space as somebody who has TB for an extended period of time.
Those students and staff members in Alexandria must take TB tests regularly, as must transfer students as a preventive measure.
The Fairfax County School Board is about to begin a critical meeting where it will continue to search for ways to cut $33 million from its budget. County supervisors eliminated that much from the board's budget request. One proposal would eliminate employee cost of living adjustments for 1 year. The teachers' associations oppose that move. Fairfax firefighters got more than they bargained for in the Pindaw section last night. First, they knocked down a basement fire, and then gas leaking from a meter was ignited, and the flames forced the firemen out of the house. Before it was over, 60 firefighters spent an hour putting it out. One resident suffered smoke inhalation, another had an asthma attack. There's no word on the total damage. A neighboring house also had some damage from that fire.
People in a neighborhood on Capitol Hill are angry tonight after an eviction turned their block into a dump site. An elderly woman put out on the street Thursday has stayed with her belongings to protect them. So far, she's been unable to pay for their removal, and the city hasn't helped. Furniture, clothes, appliances litter the sidewalk in front of more than a dozen houses. The woman's family has offered to provide other housing for her this evening, but up until now, she has rejected their offers.
And efforts to find her shelter, temporary shelter, have been unsuccessful because she won't leave her things. So it's a chicken and egg scenario of how to get her things out of here so that she'll get off the street. And she's the guardian of her belongings.
I think that the city better get up here and better do something about this and better help her.
Also, some relief today for residents of a Germantown neighborhood. A team of maids arrived at the home of Richard Lurix to help clean it up. Earlier, some neighbors had asked police to force their way into the house because of the smell. The home reportedly was filled with piles of garbage and rotting food, and housing officials ordered the owner to clean it up.
There's breaking news tonight from Bosnia. Coming up, Pentagon officials say they may be getting radio signals from a pilot shot down in northern Bosnia.
Maryland's Kwasi Mafume issues a stern warning to the Clinton administration and Senator Dole about the future of affirmative action. Plus, the latest in Florida. We'll get a live report as Hurricane Allison comes ashore. And Bob, what's happening for us?
For us, it's just some high clouds. Actually, Allison now just a tropical storm, but I'll tell you what effect it might have on us. George, what you got?
Good evening, I'm George Michael here at the Youth for Tomorrow home. Joe Gibbs is going to join us. It's a big day. It's graduation out here in Manassas. NBA Finals are set. Do you like the Magic or do you like the Rockets? The Orioles bullpen fails again. And how did Joe Gibbs' driver avoid this pileup at Dover? We'll get the answers. We continue with News 4 at 6 from Manassas.
You're watching News 4 with Jim Vance, Doreen Gensler, Bob Ryan Weather, and George Michael Sports. This is News 4 at 6, working for you.
From somewhere in northern Bosnia today came radio signals and a steady beep. And now the Pentagon thinks the signals may be coming from that American pilot who was shot down on Friday. Steve Handelsman is in the newsroom with the latest on that story. Steve?
Hi, Wendy. It doesn't have to be the pilot who's using this radio, but a top Pentagon official says he's encouraged by these radio signals that could mean the missing American is alive and trying to elude capture. Since the Bosnian Serbs shot down the US F-16 on Friday, all they've shown to reporters is this wreckage. No pilot. even though they claim they captured him alive. Like all U.S. flyers, the unidentified American carried a homing radio device in his flight vest. The signals now being detected by the search team over Bosnia could mean the flyer is alive and hiding and signaling intermittently to save his batteries. Or something or someone else could be operating the radio. But to the F-16 pilots flying over Bosnia tonight in the search for their comrade, the radio beeps signal hope. And there's hope tonight for the remaining 250 UN hostages in Bosnia. If the claims of neighboring Yugoslavia are accurate, they'll be freed like 120 of their comrades were freed on Friday. So far, though, no confirmation. One more thing to concern Bill Clinton, who prayed this morning after a jog with a visiting minister. The president said nothing on Bosnia today, after a week of policy changes that analysts say alarmed many in Congress and seesawed U.S. policy in the eyes of our allies. His spokesman denied any flip-flops.
I mean, it's again, a policy premised on the notion that the United States will not commit ground forces to Bosnia to either go to war on behalf of one of the parties or to participate in the long-term UN peacekeeping mission in place.
86% of Americans approve the Clinton plan. U.S. ground forces going in only to rescue UN forces. They will not join British Marines in a rapid response unit to protect UN peacekeepers. But the U.S. will provide heavily armed Apache helicopter gunships like this, and the latest in unmanned drones that can spy on the Serbs without putting a pilot at risk. Tonight's news on the missing pilot won't make much difference to many on Capitol Hill who want no more Americans in the hands of the Serbs. They'll try to block the president's new Bosnia plan later this week on Capitol Hill. I'm Steve Handelsman, News 4. Back to you.
Thanks, Steve. Maryland Congressman Kwesi Mfume launched a counterattack today aimed at critics of affirmative action. Dave McConnell of WTOP News Radio 1500 is up on Capitol Hill with more on this story. Dave?
Jim, the drift of recent events is especially disturbing to Congressman Mfume. For instance, the scrapping of affirmative action by the state of California, recent moves by members of Congress to repeal the affirmative action laws as we know them, and most troubling of all to Mfume, a loyal Democrat, is the leaking of a recent report on White House affirmative action policies that seems to suggest maybe it's time to drop those set-aside or special programs that help minorities and businesses. Maybe it's time for them to come to an end. Mfume isn't happy. In fact, he is warning that a Clinton administration backdown could produce a backlash among key supporters.
I want to clearly and carefully warn the administration that by not being clear and firm on the issue of equal opportunity, equal access, and inclusion, the president runs the risk of permanently losing large segments of his base. The only thing worse than trying to be all things for all people is to create in the process large pools of unenthusiastic voters tired of choosing between the lesser of two evils. And I have a warning also for the Republican Party. If you think that racial minorities in this country, and in particular African Americans, are going to silently sit by and let 30 years of progress be taken away without a fight, then you are in for a very rude awakening.
Mfume, of course, is a key member of Congress on the affirmative rights debate, sure to heat up. He's a powerful member of the Congressional Black Caucus. What he's saying to Democrats and Republicans is, don't take minorities for granted, don't ignore us. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Tonight, Volunteer 4 is looking for people to help prepare and serve food to the city's homeless and hungry. The group, So Others Might Eat, was founded by a Catholic priest in 1971. Since then, it's evolved into one of the most all-encompassing and all-welcoming shelters in the district, attracting volunteers of all ages and all backgrounds. Some feeds more than 1,200 people each day, but it is struggling right now. It's looking for more hands to help prepare and serve those meals. The group also offers medical and dental services, self-help, and neighborhood outreach programs. If you'd like to help in any of these areas, give us a call at 202-432-WRC4. As always, our phone lines are open until 7 o'clock tonight.
Coming up next, a live report from the Gulf Coast of Florida, where Hurricane Allison came ashore with something of a vengeance this morning.
The jury took another hit today in the O.J. Simpson trial. We'll tell you why the defense is objecting to Judge Ito's decisions.
Also an update on Christopher Reeve's condition after doctors performed several hours of surgery on the actor. Broke his neck while riding a horse in Virginia.
In Prince George's County tonight, allegations of a child being sexually assaulted, but not by an adult, by an 8-year-old boy. As News 4's Debbie Lockhart reports, the alleged victim is a 6-year-old neighborhood girl.
This is the neighborhood where the alleged incidents occurred. Prince George's County Police say the last alleged assault by the 8-year-old boy on the 6-year-old girl happened April 3rd. But it wasn't until this weekend that the 6-year-old girl told her mother.
It appears that he actually raped her. It's considered to be a second-degree rape because there was some threat apparently he used against her. He told her that if she told that this happened, that he would somehow physically harm her. It appears right now that she had a younger sister who showed signs of some type of sexual abuse. The mother then confronted the older sister, who then told her mom what had been going on over the last few months with the 8-year-old, and that's how it came to the attention of the police department.
According to Corporal Scott, the sexual assault case of the younger sister is separate from her older sisters and does not involve the 8-year-old boy. Prince George's County Sexual Investigation Unit and Child Protective Services are investigating both cases.
Neighbors in this small, quiet community say they are very surprised.
I mean, it's sad that it happened. It really is sad. I'm sorry that it happened. I just hope that something can be done about it.
I guess it's just a common denominator of the way society is now. Too much of that mess is on television and exposes the kids to it. They said they want to do it.
Cheryl Banks from the Sexual Assault Center at Prince George's Hospital Center says kid-on-kid sexual assaults are not uncommon and seem to be increasing.
Children need to be empowered so that they know that they don't have to do things that they don't want to do. And if another child wants them to do something, they don't, that the child is able to say, no, I don't want to do that, and go home and tell mom and dad. Sometimes kids have to be given permission to say no.
In Prince George's County, Debbie Lockhart, News 4.
Tropical storm Allison is moving through southeastern Georgia right now. This morning, the storm hit the Gulf Coast of Florida. It got to just hurricane-force winds before it was downgraded to a tropical storm. We get the latest on all of this now from reporter Hank Tester, who is live in Apalachicola, Florida. Hank?
Well, you can see behind me what we've got here is a really nice day outside, and the sun is out, and things are returning back to normal here. What we have here is a simple story, the kind you run across often when you're covering hurricanes. It's a concern about property, a concern about a boat and cats and a summer cottage. And it turned out that everything is okay. Russ and Corrine Millum, waiting like hundreds of others to see if they still have a summer home on St. George's Island. Hurricane Allison could have done them serious damage. It did not.
I think everybody took it pretty well seriously. It's just wasn't as intense as they expected it to be in the beginning. And last night, as time went on, it just didn't gel together very well.
So you're glad to see your baby's in good shape there?
Oh yeah, like I said, I made sure of it. It spent the night up in Tallahassee, and we just pulled it back down.
Corrine feeds one of the cats that stuck it out while they were gone. Others are missing.
Bob's the only one that's come back.
That's Bob.
That's Bob.
Bob knows a good thing.
Nothing moved around much, so no water up on the lot much, and everything turned out to be just fine.
Russ and Corrine, like thousands in the Panhandle, a brush with a hurricane. For once, for them, for almost everyone, it turned out okay. Well, the sun's out. We've got blue sky down here in the Panhandle of Florida. Everything's okay for our folks there, Russ and Corrine, except one worry. What's going to happen when the next one comes along? Reporting from the Panhandle of Florida, Hank Tester. Back to you.
Thanks, Hank. Bob Ryan is up next to tell us where Allison went, kind of track that storm across the southeast, and tell us if we're going to feel any effects of it up here.
Later in the broadcast, a live report from New York City as cleanup continues after this morning's deadly subway collision there. Stay tuned.
Hank's got a
Bob Ryan's here to tell us there are some clouds here today. Is that courtesy of Allison?
It is sort of the exhaust, very, very high, the edge. We may be just on the fringe. Allison, much, remember the first one last year was Alberto? That was never even a hurricane. Did all that terrible flooding in southwestern Georgia in early July. So even though Allison, the first named tropical system, they get to be named when they get winds of about 40 miles an hour, was a minimal hurricane. It has really done, not as we saw, not too much. Around us, we had our Skywatcher in time lapse. And can you see the very, very edge of a hurricane? Well, it's that sort of that high, thin cloud shield. Some of the lower clouds coming in on southeasterly winds. We'll have some of those around tomorrow, too, because we'll have an easterly wind as a result of the general area of high pressure and also what's left of Allison. That will keep our temperatures down tomorrow a bit. High today made it up to 82 degrees. 2 days ago, that same high, thin cloudiness, by the temperature at the level of those high clouds, 40 below zero. 2 days ago, that was inside of Allison when it was in the Gulf of Mexico. Hurricane Allison, now Tropical Storm Allison. Here's how it looks outside right now from the vantage point of our city cam. Looking toward the southwest, you can see some of those clouds, and those high clouds are now getting a bit thicker. 77, we're at here in Washington. Southerly wind at 8 miles per hour. Humidity's not too bad, and with an east to southeasterly wind, I don't think it's going to be too bad tomorrow, and the winds will be staying light too. Winds maybe 10 to 15 miles per hour. Let me take you back in time from the vantage point of space. This was early this morning, about 9 o'clock in the morning. Watch the circulation center as it was moving ashore. This is the visible satellite picture. You can see late in the afternoon now. Here are the clouds as the sun's low in the western sky getting illuminated. The center is south-central Georgia. As I mentioned earlier, at 5 o'clock near Valdosta, Georgia. There you can see the bands, the spiral bands, the typical pinwheel shape of a tropical system feeding in. But here's where the real action is. Over the last couple of hours, there you can see again the circulation. Here's Augusta, there's Atlanta, and around southern Georgia near Macon. Some pretty heavy showers, thunder showers right now. Those are those yellows. And this is a tornado watch because on the east side, with that circulation, when the thunderstorms build up, it's always possible, so produce some small tornadoes. And that's been the situation. Some damage down in Florida. This is near Tampa, Florida. This was actually overnight, early this morning. And again, one of those thunderstorms building up and generating a small but damaging tornado. Winds probably in that were about 100 miles per hour, enough to cause some damage. And actually, that was most of the damage from Allison. Let me show you what's been going on over us. This is the last 24 hours, for the effect on us. Here we are in Washington. There you can see that circulation center. And again, you can see the high clouds. This is the infrared picture. Tomorrow and late tonight, what's